Welcome to this video book. I'm going to share with you Grant Cardone's book, The 10x Rule, the only difference between success and failure. I found this book curious and provocative and hence decided this must be something worth investigating. People have long sought a clear answer as to why some people succeed in business and life and others just don't. While there are no shortcuts to achieving success, author Grant Cardone believes he can point to a discipline and a mindset perhaps that transforms an average person into high achievers. Now, as leaders, this is particularly interesting to us because we want our teams to be a bunch of high achievers to make something happen. The 10x rule establishes why success is important and why realistic goals are actually useless. Now, that's an interesting one, and why massive levels of action are imperative. If people want to move beyond their current levels in any area of their life, whether it means, increasing their sales, developing a new product, or getting a promotion, or even saving more money, or perhaps their contributions to the world around them, they need to both think as well as act creatively. While many people recognize the importance of setting goals, and I'm sure you do too, a lot of people fail to attain them for two reasons, according to Grant. They either estimate how much action is truly required to accomplish them and do not actually set goals that inspire them to take action. And I want to stop here and say that a lot of people don't understand the word inspire. Inspired literally means breath inside. And what's the opposite of inspire? Well, you have it there. It's expire. So, just a thought for you as we go forward. Now, the reason why many people fail is that it just doesn't inspire them to take action. And that's something that you want to consider as you move forward in this book. So, levels of expectation, there is time, there's money, there's people, there is effort, and, the people underestimate what it's going to take to accomplish the goal, and then they get disappointed or discouraged. But using the 10x rules means multiplying every expectation by 10. That is, it's going to take 10 times the time, 10 times the money, 10 times the people, 10 times the effort at the very outset of doing something. So you don't minimize it up front. And success does not just happen, or the myth of a so-called stable environment. They're created through persistent action despite whatever shows up, whatever setbacks, and whatever adversities we may have. So, what would the world look like if we set our expectation as, it's going to take 10 times the time, 10 times the effort? Things start changing in the way we start looking at things. So the core features of success is, let me go back to this culturally ingrained phrases and platitudes that are offered that, success isn't everything. Really? It's really frustrating because they diminish the importance of success. People who minimize success diminish the value of what they have not been able to accomplish. And it's really a set of excuses they give to themselves first and then to the world around them as to why they didn't succeed. Success does not happen when people passively wait for it. It is created when it becomes a responsibility first to themselves, their companies, their families, and their futures. Treating success as optional is a key reason why people don't experience it more. Success is not a zero-sum game or or the limited commodity. As there are just no limits to the number of ideas and the persistence, the energy you can bring to the game, the creativity that you can unleash on situations. Just because we witness somebody else's success, it should really be an inspiring thing. We need to be inspired by the success of others and not waste time over emotions like envy and stuff like that, and validate that it is attainable for all rather than make people feel that now because somebody else has succeeded there's less room for them to succeed. So, the greatest reason why people do not see their goals through to completion is perhaps counterintuitive. They fail to see them high enough from the outside. When people set targets thinking, I would be just happy if I just, they immediately limit the amount of success they seek and the effort and action that it's required to attain it and to actually maintain it. People have been encouraged to set so called realistic goals for themselves under the premise that setting goals too high will trigger consequent failure, subsequent disappointment, and ultimately disillusionment when future goal setting. What is considered realistic is based on what others, most of them operate at very low level of action, having achieved and deemed possible. Setting 10x goals means creating goals that will command attention and generate excitement from people because there's really very little satisfaction when they are attained. Average goals cannot fuel massive 10x action. So people should begin, according to Grant, by doing two things: writing down their goals every day and choosing the goals that are just out of reach. When they write out their goals, they should phrase it as though they have already been accomplished. This is something that we've been sharing repeatedly, is that you don't come from the past, you come from an inspiring future. You come backwards from an inspiring future, which is why you write it down. So here is an example. I have great relationship with my client. I'm getting a return of 10% from my investment. My new promotion is providing a better quality of life. Whatever it is, your goal is you're writing it down every day and you're choosing it something that is just out of your reach. More than any other factor, discipline and consistent action determine whether a person or company will succeed. It's not in your business plan or your product. Taking 10 times the action one currently takes may feel like an overwhelming amount of work at first, but ultimately, the point of the 10x rule is to push people forward towards the type of success that is self perpetuating. It becomes less about the goals and the targets and more about this mindset that is the fuel that the realization of the 10x goals. Many people fail to reach the goal simply because they've been operating at the other three other degrees of action instead of massive action. Average levels of action, retreating, or doing nothing. People can be operating at all four levels of action, but in different aspects of their life. For example, they might be taking massive action when it comes to their physical fitness. They might be taking average action in their career. They might be retreating from, updating their LinkedIn profile maybe, or doing nothing about their personal relationship. So you can be operating at different levels of action on the things in your life. As Cardone tells his personal story, he notes that taking 10 times the action of others was a defining factor that launched a successful career. He cautions that massive action is not something that should be measured in terms of number of hours worked or even admiration given by others. It's simply the level of action that is taken as if your life and your future depends on it. I really like that phrase, as if your life and your future depends on it. And that switches you on in a way that is completely different. When people take responsibility for their action, it keeps their focus on finding solutions and what they can do to change the situation. Otherwise, you end up trying to hunt and find for excuses. Before people can claim credit for success, they must be prepared to acknowledge their failures as well. Average levels of action assume a stability that simply doesn't exist in today's world. When people start companies, even if they have amazing ideas, they tend to write business plans with conservative projections that still wildly underestimate how long it'll take, how much action is needed to maintain and reach profitability, much less plans that account for any unexpected so called black swan events and circumstances that might suddenly show up. People are often raised to think of competition as a good thing, and that spurs them on to achieve success. But Cardone suggests that competing with others has the opposite effect. So much energy is spent becoming and watching, preoccupied what the other guy is doing, that people limit their own creative thinking and their own innovation. So there you have it. Action and time. If you were to look at those that graph, it will start looking at that. How much action I'm taking and how much time am I investing into that. Very very different thing. So if you were to how much time I'm putting into creative thinking and innovation versus worrying about the competition, forget the competition. That simply doesn't matter. But focus on how can I do massive action, and and recognizing that I might be underestimating the time and action required to truly become successful. By taking action that everyone considers unreasonable, a company can gain competitive advantage. Now, this is something that I want you to really take in. This company began by calling people as soon as they drove out of the parking lot and achieved incredible results. Almost 50% immediately returned, and 80% of those people became buyers. So here you have it. Somebody walked into the store and then walked out. No, we just called them straight away, and 80% of those people became buyers. An additional 20% returned at a later time, and this company's sales hit a new high. So, some key attributes of people who take massive action, and I want you to pay attention as we start unfolding one card at a time. They assume control of everything. Successful people do not accept a victim mentality but approach every situation as someone who's acting and not being acted upon. They are the cause in the matter. They're not looking for the becauses why things are not working. When people take responsibility for their action, they keep their focus on finding solutions and what they can do to change the situation rather than finding excuses. Next, they do not accept average. Average levels of action assumes a stability that does not exist. So you may have amazing ideas, you may, put down conservative projection, but you may underestimate the time it will take to actually make things happen. And that leads to complacency and being off guard by unforeseen circumstances. Massive action is the best insurance against the unexpected. They dominate instead of compete. Cardone suggests that competing with others has the opposite effect. I mean, we talked about that a little bit more. Our goal is domination, not competition. Our goal is about uh, avoiding chasing other companies and be the one that sets the pace. They choose only done here practices. The best way to dominate is look at what other companies refuse to do and then choose to do that. By taking action that everyone else considered unreasonable, a company can gain absolutely a high quality competitive advantage. Okay, next one. They are obsessed. Culture tends to treat obsession as if it's a problem rather than the gift that it really could be. This is really what would we call the perfect adjective for approaching success. People do not take others' goals seriously until they observe a certain level of passion behind them. They see massive action through to success, and people need to get obsessed, and that obsession is what really fuels things forward. All right, the next one. They overcommit and they go all in. See, when people play poker, they go all in. They put all the chips at risk and will either reap a big reward or lose it all. Massive action is like that, with one significant difference. It is not a limited resource like a poker chip. People can go all in with their energy and creativity because clearly that cannot be exhausted. You're not going to be run out of ideas or anything like that. Each time they do that, they dramatically increase their odds of winning big. And salespeople, particularly, and people who interact with clients, whether internally or externally, are particularly susceptible to failure when we don't go all in, fully switched on, making something happen. All right, next one. They expand and never contract. This whole idea of saving, cutting back may be necessary for a short time during tight times. But most people and companies maintain this mindset for too long, way too long. And when everyone else is tightening, there become unique opportunities to take market share from those who are retreating. So there you have it, a whole bunch of ideas. I think Grant is on to something good. I think it may even scare you a little bit. I know it challenged my own thinking as I considered this book and read through it. Well, here's the summary. Don't be cautious. Fight it out, set big goals, and take massive action. And guess what? Success could be right around the corner. So thank you. And this is Bert Cherian signing off. And I'm going to look forward to sharing with you yet another video book very shortly.